characteristic, modernity and tradition, and voting with our feet. A true Bradfordian at heart. There we go.
We normally vote with our stomach in Bradford, but yeah, voting with feet. I like that. We'll go with that.
Okay. I mean, moving on, in terms of is there a real issue in Muslim communities, whether it's the younger and up-and-coming generation? You've touched upon modernity, identity, tradition. The younger generation, the European Muslim, the British Muslim, the identity crisis and the deen or the religion. Again, in terms of education, these children are going through our education systems, whether it's secular, whether it's private, whether it's grammar and paid private schools, or even home tuition, home teaching, maktab, madrasas, learning the aqaid, faith, fiqh, laws, etc. What's going wrong with our youngsters? What is going wrong? So much criminality, so much drugs. You talked about morals, you talked about crime, etc. Isn't this related to education? You as a teacher, as a lecturer in Bradford for many years, and now in your organisation, do you have this crisis with the young generation?
Well, when I mention in terms of, I would separate religion from the socio-economic background of the individual. When a community is in a difficult socio-economic background, then they need a high moral code, because they're going to be susceptible to crime more than anybody else. Because in the inner cities is where these kind of things are happening. The challenges that we face living in inner city areas is significantly higher than if you were living in the suburbs or the outskirts of Bradford, because the opportunities just aren't there. So if we are living in these particular...
Sorry to cut you short there. Explain what you mean in terms of social, economical...
Okay. I'm talking about that. When you look at majority, a significant number of Muslims who are coming from the Muslim background, you'll see that there'll be some kind of governmental support that's being paid into... can't fend for themselves in the sense that they're not in employment in which they can provide for their own means. So there's some kind of governmental support. Whether, normally free lunches is used as a measure of socio-economic background. Things of that nature which are used to make a line in the sand as to who is living in a slightly deprived situation. So you find that quite a large number of individuals from the Indian subcontinent are living in those difficult surroundings. Now, when we are living in those difficult surroundings and there's lots of temptations around us, then we need a very strong moral code. And that moral code is Islam. And the problem we're finding is that both society at large is slowly sort of stripping away this moral structure which was used by individuals in the past to try to maintain social order within the Muslim community, for instance. Now, if we can reinstate that moral code, if we can give that Islamic identity, and there is an identity crisis, and I'm not sure it's just limited to the youth. I think this identity crisis, finds its way all the way up to middle age and beyond, where, what is a Muslim? And I like the way you define it by saying a European Muslim and a British Muslim. I think many of the times, the kind of image that we're getting across to our young is being a Pakistani Muslim or being an Indian Muslim. And what we fail to realize is that they're not Pakistani Muslims and they're not Indian Muslims. They're English. And because, there's been a difficult history between the Indian subcontinent and the British. And I think that's why it makes it a little bit difficult in order to be able to confidently say that you're an English Muslim or you're a British Muslim. Well, I'm sure there's many scholars now who are as confident on social media as they are confident on the street corners to try to bring that identity across to the youngsters and obviously to the not so youngsters.